I try not to make every podcast about how Corofin are going to march to the All-Ireland title, but there's a fair chance they're going to be Parke-Pierce's this weekend. And I interviewed Niall Daly of Parke-Pierce's, who's obviously trying to play it down a bit. And then, of course, Kieran Fitzgerald, we did an interview with him also, both on OurGame, and he's trying to play it down, of course, as well. But surely it comes back to Corofin are more or less an inter-county team playing at club level. They're surely going to win here.
Unless their performances probably haven't been up to the All-Ireland final performance last year, shall we say.
Yeah.
But unless it dips significantly and Pierce's have a real going day, and that's the way it's going to be. That's the only way Corofin are going to be beaten, if they have a serious off day and someone else is really on top form. Now the only there is a few chinks of light for Corofin haven't exactly blown teams away or anything this year. So that Pierce's would think, I'd imagine Pat Flanagan would try and keep it as tight as he can and hope to be in the game with 10 or 15 minutes to go. But but you still think Corofin are going to push on. You always think they're probably going to get better as things go along.
Well, they beat Ballintubber on the way to this, and on the other side of the draw, you had Parke-Pierce's beating Turlestrand, the Sligo champions, then beating the London champions. It's not it was ideal for them. They had a 3-week break after winning their first ever Roscommon title, and
you needed it, eh?
Yeah, and they're coming into it now with probably the best case scenario of a road, in the sense that Mayo and Galway teams are on the other side. Galway had really a tough game against Tuam Stars, went to a replay. At that point, Kieran Fitzgerald, Daithí Burke and Micheál Lundy were all fit enough to start. So it feels like they're up and motoring again. And even the Farhers in attack, Gary Sice is there, the sort of guy who'd put over a clutch free if it's needed. But one interesting thing is, I was looking up Kieran Fitzgerald's record, because he's won so much with Galway over the years. He's won so much with Corofin. Actually, just to go through what he's won with Galway, he won 2 Connacht under-21s, which from probably 3 years is fair going. In the year in between, so they were 2000, 2002, 2001, he won in All-Ireland with the senior team and an All-Star.
Right, yeah.
He's won 4 Connacht titles with them. Then with club, he's won 3 All-Irelands there. He's won 6 Connacht titles and 14 or 15 Connacht. I actually thought
14 or 15 county medals.
Yeah. Would they not have converted more of those county titles into Connachts? But I suppose you have the likes of Bridget's and
Castlebar there for a while. Yeah, but that's some haul, and he hasn't. He doesn't really look to have slowed down at all, or anything. Age doesn't seem to have caught up with him.
No, he went off with cramp. I think he told me it was cramp near the end of the game against Ballintubber, and I was thinking, when you're a bit older, 38, turning 39, is he going to be under pressure? But he'll probably be alright.
He's getting cramp at 33, turning 34, let alone 38, turning 39.
But I was just thinking, that's an age when, especially the heavy sort of pitches, could a calf go? Could a hamstring go? Would a calf start moving?
The heavy pitch also does play to the strengths of an older player as well, though, with experience, because it's just everything slows down on the heavier pitch, and your head kind of comes into it more so than your body a lot of the time.
And the dogging is obviously suited to slightly older players at times. Parke-Pierce, sort of a puncher's chance here if they're to win this game, because 9 times out of 10 it is going to be Corofin. And they need Corofin to slip beneath their standards, but it just seems highly, highly unlikely.
No, it is unlikely. You'd imagine Corofin there was a bit of a storm, and they've kind of weathered it. They're 3 games away from a hat-trick of All-Ireland titles, which would be phenomenal. Obviously, it's never been done before, to the best of my knowledge anyway. It's never been done before.
No, in either code.
Yeah, Borough got back to a Leinster final, going for 3 in a row. I have the feeling somebody else did something similar-ish. But it's how hard is that?
Yeah, very hard. The Leinster Club Championship is at the semi-final stage, and when you consider that the last 2 champions were teams from Longford and Kildare, it probably feels like it's unbelievably open to everyone. So Garrycastle are playing Ballyboden, and the other semi-final is Óg of Carlow against Portlaoise. So Dublin teams had won 6 of the 7 titles before the last 2 seasons. And I thought to myself, right, so St. Vincent's were probably heavy in that. I actually have it here. So those winners were St. Vincent's, Ballyboden, Vincent's and Ballymun. And I thought to myself, Ballyboden are back here again. They've probably kind of changed their team over a little bit from what it used to be. But St. Vincent's, it feels like they're going to take a bit of a downturn for a while, because their main players are probably on the road a long time and getting a bit older. Ballymun, somewhat similarly. I know the Smalls are fairly young.
Underachievers.
So are these Dublin teams going to start slowing down a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have thought. I thought Ballyboden were in inverted commas weak Dublin champions going into Leinster a couple of years ago and end up winning the All-Ireland.
Yeah. They kind of tripped and fell their way to the All-Ireland to some degree. Now, still a very, very good team. That's
brilliant in the All-Ireland final.
It's just, they absolutely smashed Castlebar. But, rode their luck against Portlaoise, against Clonmel. It's not like they battered everyone in the way that, Corofin, they get to late stages and they batter everyone.
Yeah, no, it could be a fair point. My knowledge of the Dublin Football Championship is not as how should we say, intimate as I'd like it to be. So I don't know. There could be a couple of very good young sides coming through, but it would look that it's levelled off, and invariably dominance does level off, be it at club or county level. Like they've had, this is the golden Dublin generation coming through, which has also led to some really top class club sides. Maybe it will level off a bit, and opportunities have come for the likes of Mullinachta and for Moorfield in the last couple of years, and they took them. So Garrycastle, Éire Óg and Portlaoise. Wouldn't it be great if Portlaoise have had a couple of really big near misses in the last couple of years? So maybe this will be their year.
But just another point on Dublin. So St. Vincent's were very, very strong there for a long time. Won 2013, 14, 16, 17. I think Dublin club football is unbelievably strong, and an awful lot of clubs are pulling players from, guys that have moved up from the country, and they've got good players like Seamus O'Farrell from Limerick. I think he's on the bench most of the time for Castleknock. That'll tell you how strong some of these teams are. But it's just that there isn't necessarily one or just two teams that are well above the rest, like Vincent's and Ballymun, I suppose, to some degree. That it's probably levelled off in terms of, do we have an absolute superpower? No, but we've still got an unbelievably strong championship. We don't quite have the superpower of all. Look, that could be blown out of the water, and you could have Ballyboden coasting. But I don't know. So
it's it is an interesting game. And Garrycastle, definitely nobody thought Garrycastle would be here. Definitely not a half time at their county final.
No.
And it's a massive opportunity for them. They've loads of experience as well. Desi's still going strong. I think they'll fancy themselves on home side, I have to say. I think they will. And obviously Garrycastle, it's not before the time of the Dublin dominance, or was it in the middle of it, that they won their Leinster title under Andy Cunningham as well. Yeah. So they have some experience. There's a few bodies still holding on from that as well. So they will fancy their chances, definitely.
Beat Radotes 3-11 to 2-12.
They nearly made a dog's dinner of that.
Yeah.
They nearly made a dog's dinner of that. They were well in control, and I don't think they scored in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and it just made it way more heartbreaking and nerving than it needed to be.
And of course it probably didn't help the manager. He probably had a sore head. His wife had a child in the middle of the night. Before. Right. Ballyboden beat Newtown Blues comfortably enough up in Drogheda.
It's only in the last 10 or 15 minutes that they really got going. Yeah, it was really low scoring. The
scoreboard was 5.
Yeah, it was a bit more flattering now. Wasn't that much in it with 10 or 15 minutes to go, and it was dogged enough. It'd be interesting. There's a lot of talk about the Bascals at the moment. Particularly, I would say, Colin Bascal, who
won 4 in that game.
Yeah, who to me was been brought on in the 2018 championship, and particularly in a lot of league games, and he was scoring points and things like that, and you just kind of expected him to be the next kind of name that was going to be your Cormac Costello or whatever. Yeah, and it just didn't really materialise. But I don't know why he didn't seem to have been involved in 2019. I presume he'll be back involved in 2020, because he can never do without lads like that.
Interestingly enough, Boden are 5-1 on to in this game.
Yeah, that's very, very short, to be honest with you. Very short.
It's much tighter in the odds between Portlaoise and Éire Óg. So Portlaoise are 4-5. It's 13-2 for the draw and 11-8 for Éire Óg to win this game. So Éire Óg beat Sarsfields of Kildare, who had broken Moorfield's dominance of Kildare, by winning the second half 7 points to 1. So that's obviously very good going. But you can't ignore that Sarsfield's a couple of their important players Ben McCormick and Matty Byrne, after the county title was won, they went off travelling. Not blaming any lads for doing that. I mean, this is it. You have to try and find some sort of window to head away and try and get back in time. But I'm sure that didn't go down too well locally, but anyway, that definitely does have a knock-on effect for like Éire Óg have a weaker team to play.
Yeah, I don't know how that thing with Sarsfields. I don't know how that would have went down locally. They stopped Moorfield from winning 3 in a row. I'd say a lot of the people around didn't feel like the boys owed them anything, and they were delaying their trip until after the county final, things like that.
Definitely going to be a few people who were put
I'm
out
sure
by
there's
it.
always a few people been put out by it, you know.
Yeah, and we talk about tradition plenty of times and what that counts for. Éire Óg have won the senior Leinster club title 5 times.
Yeah.
So they probably feel there's probably a pride of place sort of thing here. But I don't know, it's a very, very hard one to call. I mean, players that people might know for Éire Óg, Sean Gannon, diminutive sort of wing back that we've seen the last few years, good player. Jordan Morrissey and Chris Blake as well.
Éire Óg battered in Leinster last year.
Mulnachta absolutely hammered them.
That's semi-final, last year.
Something like 18 points.
Yeah, they absolutely gave them a bit of a spanking. Yeah,
so but then again, like Portlaoise beat St. Pat's of Wicklow on penalties. So if you had to say who's going to win between Éire Óg and St. Pat's, you might go for Éire Óg, even if you were saying it was tight. So if Portlaoise can only get through on penalties, that probably should mean every game's different, but ergo this could be fairly close.
Yeah.
So for Portlaoise to win on penalties, I mean the drama, like, and we talked on the hurling podcast about the drama of penalties, and that we could see that this weekend because all games can go to penalties. Niall Rigney as manager of Portlaoise is a great one. Isn't it? Yeah. It's a great one, like, because when he retired from the club and he hurled for the club and he played football, but hurling predominantly. He went and managed the team the next year. He's managed in Tip, Kilkenny, all around the place, and he's back with the footballers.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's a mad one, yeah. But 34 county titles, 12 in the last 13 years. I'd say they are just despised. Locally.
I just even getting through penalties last day. I just think they'd be a bit more. Not Éire Óg have tradition and experience, but I just think this Portlaoise team is a bit more seasoned, and I just expect them to find a way. I think I don't expect there to be much in it, but I would expect Portlaoise to find a way.
Could have penalties again, who knows?
Could have it, yeah.
In the Leinster Intermediate Championship, I was looking to see, have Dublin teams been winning this? And you know the way, like, the Dublin team was split into Senior A and Senior B, so 16 teams and 16 teams. And then there's the next level as well. And Ballyboden got knocked out by Mulnavat, the Kilkenny champions. So, but in the last 4 years, four different counties have won this title in the last 5 years. So it's not like the sole preserve of anyone to go and win this title. And the semi-finals this weekend are Mulnavat of Kilkenny against Rosenallis of Laois, and Mattock Rangers of Louth against Dunlavin.
It's a great to hear a Kilkenny team in a Leinster semi-final of football of like any grade, really.
They've done it 3 in a row in Kilkenny.
Yeah.
Not easy done. Oh wait. But like,
was it played in April this year like it normally is?
I was trying to find it out. I couldn't even find a match report.
Yeah, no.
So that just shows the level
I've
of interest.
often like inquired about Kilkenny championships from lads that are like heavily involved in Kilkenny hurling, and they'd be like, "Jeez, I don't know, to be honest with you." And the championship could be well played at this stage, and they genuinely wouldn't know. Of course, they had the famous one with Brian Cody and Owen Larkin, where Owen Larkin was going to play for the Village in some championship football match, probably a semi-final or a final, because that was the way. And it's alleged that Cody said to him that if he wanted to further his football career, he could.
But sure, last year was it the year before? Wally Walsh went playing with.
Tullogher Birkin, football.
Yeah. So he went, and then didn't Colin Fennelly join some club last year on the football side of things? It might have been Tullogher, but I remember Wally Walsh. I was interviewing him last year about Tullogher, and it was like they'd already won whatever grade it was. I think it was intermediate, and they were heading into Leinster, so I decided they better start training.
It's mad, isn't it?
That's the level of interest you'd imagine for a lot of clubs, not all, and I'm not sure what Mulnavat's interest level is. But Rosenallis, they beat Father Manning Gales of Longford 2-9 to 1-6. 17 wides for Father Manning Gales is what I was reading.
Killer, isn't it?
Yeah, and they had gone into an early sort of a lead. So
17 wides in football is a fair, 12 or 13 would be high.
Yeah,
20 in hurling or something would be very high, but obviously you're shooting from further out. 17 in football is massive.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of dual players that plays for Rosenallis, because they won an intermediate hurling title in Laois also. Owen Dunn, an under-20 midfielder for Laois, people would possibly know. And some of the other guys who did score on the last day were Killian Killally and Ronan Murray. So Mulnavat beat Ballyboden, who I mentioned. It was 3-7 to 3 points at half time. They ended up winning by a goal in the end, so, for whatever reason. Mattock Rangers against Dunlavin. So the thing about Mattock is, in 2002, they were in a Leinster senior club final against Dunshaughlin.
Right, yeah.
They lost that one. And here they are trying to get into a Leinster intermediate final. So I was trying to find out a little bit more about them. They've beaten Monasterevin and Bracknell of Offaly in their last couple of games.
Bracknell are a good side too now.
They're from a parish just on the Meath border called Cullen. It's very close to Slane, if I remember correctly. Collon. So leave the L's in the middle there. Don't take out either of them. So the Reeds, who played for Louth for years, would be stalwarts there. Adrian and David Reid. The team won a few senior titles, I think, in the mid 2000s, but kind of went downhill. Fairly defensive team these days, but obviously on the way back. Dunlavin beat Colliery and Nobber on their way to this stage.
One of the great names.
Colliery?
Nobber.
Nobber,
I think we're in the man of the Farrells that used to play for Meath.
Brian Farrell.
Farrell, yeah. They were in Celebrity Bannister back in the day.
Were they, yeah?
Yeah, definitely,
okay.
yeah.
Leinster Junior semi-final, Clonagale of Meath against Ballymore Eustace of Kildare. So Ballymore Eustace hammered Keena of Longford. Keena had beaten Berlin.
That was brilliant, actually.
And Clonagale, they had a 3-8 to 1-9 quarter-final win over Ballynacargy of Westmeath. The other semi-final, Rathgarogue, Cushinstown of Wexford, a very textbook Wexford name for a club, against Shannonbridge of Offaly. So the Wexford men, they beat Crave Kieran of Dublin 1-11 to 6, and Shannonbridge beat Roach Emmets of Louth 2-13 to 1-8.
Just on Shannonbridge, there's been a mad thing in kind of Offaly this year where like all the teams in the west, nearly all the teams in the west of Offaly like seem to have won championships. So you have Shannonbridge. There was a great thing actually where Shannonbridge won the intermediate, Doon won the junior, and Ferban won the football, and they're basically like all like a stone's throw from each other. And they brought the 3 cups together in the one place. I don't think it had ever happened. It couldn't have ever happened because I don't think the 3 of them had been playing at those grades before. Then you have Rhinus won the hurling, which would be very close by Clohan and Banagher, and then you have Nave Kieran who are flying it in the ladies football, and you have Rhinus flying it in the camogie as well. Like, yeah, so the West is awake.
And the rest of you had that.
Yeah, there's a good little, we had a rhyme there. If you just finished it a bit better.
So the Munster Junior final, semi-finals are on this weekend. Nagale Kerry against Michael Cusack of Clare. Nagale, I mean, again, a Munster Junior sort of club game. You're not going to know too much.
You're going to know that Kerry are going to dominate.
Yeah, and Temple know certainly in the intermediate. But Jack Barry and Diarmuid O'Connor, 2 Kerry panellists. I mean, they're surely going to run amok at junior level. Jack
Barry's brother was on the Kerry senior panel. If it wasn't this year, last year as well. Fairly sure his brother. It's to the best of my knowledge. So like, if you've got 2 or 3 lads that have been around the Kerry senior panel or on the panel, they're going to be very, very hard stopped at a junior level. And like, junior football hasn't changed as much as we'd say senior football, in the sense that a lot of the time it is quite direct. And if you've got 2 midfielders who can win kickouts, which they have, they're going to be hard to stop.
They're going to be able to run all day. The average junior footballer enjoys himself. Do you know what I mean?
He does, yeah.
Monday to Friday. Yeah. I was on to Owen Brennan, who's a journalist down in Clare, about Michael Cusack to find out a bit, and he said they're a remote club and they depend a lot on help from hurlers from Tubber.
Oh, Pat O'Connor playing now, I wonder.
I'm not sure, but their captain is Donal McMahon. He was on the Clare hurling panel this year. Be a very good player, about 22 or 23. They were beaten by the Kerry champions last year by about 30 points, so they're going to be under pressure here. They also have Ronan Monaghan, who was on the Clare under-21 hurling team in 2017. Hugh Kelly, Joey Droney and Pat Hines would be other players of note. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But with 2 inter-county panellists, it's you'd have to think it's going to be Nagale.
There's a fair bet in the junior and intermediate All-Ireland Championships that Kerry teams are going to be in Croke Park on the third week in January now.
Well, just by virtue of having divisional teams, and if you've only got a certain amount of teams at senior, that means teams that otherwise would be at senior are playing at intermediate. So you have de facto senior teams playing at intermediate and intermediate playing at junior. So
it's quite smart in a way. Quite smart.
A bit too smart for my liking.
Yeah, well, this proper like cute Kerry horism, like really, isn't it? Like, and it keeps the club so much happier because their club championships are very, very competitive. There's no one really probably taking massive hammerings because it is kind of sorted out and divided out pretty good. And then the winners of the junior and winners intermediate are going to have a cracking chance of winning Ireland.
Just before we come to the last game, Fintan O'Toole, who does a lot of these podcasts as well, and his club is Ogue. He messaged me last night saying that one lad just and he wasn't here this week because he just had a child Rian on Sunday night, so he wasn't able to come in on Monday. But he said he got a message last night from someone saying, "Hey buddy, just heard your news on the OurGame podcast. Congrats on the baby," and all that kind of stuff.
That's what you do. You have to get these things out there.
Inform the people. The final game that we're going to talk about is the other side of the Munster Junior, and it's Mullinahone of Tipperary against Croom of Limerick. It's going to be on in Temple 2. He tried everything I could to find out his own Kelly playing at all. I have no idea if he's playing or not. Captained the Hurlers to a South title this year.
I find it hard to believe that they'd be playing football now after coming back from the cruciate.
Yeah, but still, that was a year and a half ago now. Like Paul Kern is in there. The age, they'd be around the same age. Sean Kern, I presume Niall Kern, who was fullback for the Tip footballers, is in there. Owen Fennelly's another good player. Croom beat Ballyduff Lower of Waterford 8 points to 6. And of course, I'd love to give you an accurate prediction of how this game will go, but
very, very difficult.
Like yourself, I haven't a clue. And I tried to look up odds, and obviously there's none for it. So, not sure. That's it for the Club Talk Football. Anything else? No?
No. Either whoever wins that Mullinahone Croom game is probably going to be facing it against Nagale. So
they're going to be facing Nagale.
They could be, yeah.
Not so bad.
This time of the year.
Potent it don't know it. Make a rhyme every time. Right, that's it. Send us in anything to @ML Verney or @Shane Saint if we missed it, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube.